Welcome, Tommy, to Metallarium Pages. It's a great pleasure to talk with you about Prong, this new album, this new album, States of Emergency, and more things related, but in general for the metal world and the music industry in general. We will start by asking how has been the band in the last 6 years, because your Zero Days was released in 2017. Now you have a new album in 2023.
You asking what I was doing
Yes.
in that long?
Yes, in general.
Well, we had the pandemic. I was living in LA and everything got locked down, so I didn't know what was going on and didn't know if I was going to even continue with Prong because everything was shut down, and we had a new baby, a new son, so I was taking care of him, and then I was enjoying that, and then I got offered a tour, so we started up again. So we did a couple of tours. So that's eating up 3 years there. And then I didn't have a record deal. So we finally got another record deal. And then I moved to New York, back to New York from Los Angeles. So that took some time to do that, and then settle in, and then decide when to do the new record. So, I mean, it's just time flies, and it went by pretty quickly. So especially when you have a new child, and then my wife got pregnant again. So it was a lot of things what happened in my personal life as well.
Okay, now we will talk about a little about your last Latin American tour, because you did a successful tour in with Prong a few months ago. So how has been the experience to play here in Latin America? Full tours, and I know that you play in new cities, new countries. So how was the experience? Which country for you, who was the best to receive you?
I have to say Peru, because you're from there, but no, it was great. The whole place was wonderful. I really had a great time. It was opening for me. I love the people down there. I thought that the passion of the people, and it's compared to Germany, or like, sometimes Scandinavia, where people are more, they don't respond as much. And then you go to South America and people go crazy, and they're very warm, the people down there. And well, we ate like great, and it was a lot of fun. It was, everyone was saying, "Oh, it's hard," and like, but it wasn't really. The equipment was really good that the clubs provided. It was like, oh, the gear isn't going to be that great. Everything was really was wonderful in South America. So yeah, we had a good time, great experience.
Okay, nice. Oh, great to know about Peru, the shows here. So yeah. Well, talking about now from the state of emergency, I've been listening a lot of times to hear this to do this interview, and I know that you returning back on time when you release back for Deferred or Prove You Wrong. That's the vein that you now behold. So can we say that this album first was composed and written during the pandemic, and perhaps do you have more time to drunk from all your past to create this new album?
No, I mean, making the record, I did that when I got back to New York, and I just did it fast. Like, I just sat down with my guitar and a computer and throw some riffs down, and ones that I liked, and all the records that Prong did are in my mental vocabulary. So and they're a part of my style anyhow. So it sort of automatically comes out, where some of it sounds like Beg to Differ, Prove You Wrong, Rude Awakening. All of that is combined into what I do now, because I have all those old records. There's a lot of different styles within that. So now the new record displays all those styles, and may call upon some of the older records, but it's not purposeful. It just sort of winds up to be that way. But I mean, I didn't do any writing or guitar playing during the pandemic. Everything was done like afterwards, after we moved to New York, and I did it myself, and we did it fast. And I think the planning for the record and the way we did it was really good. Like, we didn't spend a whole lot of time on it. Was done fast and good, like old records were done, like Kiss did records and Zeppelin and Sabbath, so they didn't spend that much time on them. So I thought that was cool about it.
Mm, nice, nice. Well, you have more than 10 albums in your career. This new album is your new offer to the people, etc., to hear more. So how do you avoid to sound like the previous albums, but at the same time you are still pushing your sound that you catch since the ends of the 80s?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, not every record has been good. So this one I think was more of a success. Uh, I it's hard to not copy yourself from old records, but each song has its own identity, and that's something that I am concerned with making a Rue record where all the songs are sort of different. So there's really like only one like really fast song on the album, and there's a couple of alternative metal songs, and then there's the groove metal songs are mostly are there, but uh, they they're all different in a way. So during the record, in the sense of the whole record, I don't try to copy myself, but I mean it's good to have the Prong sound. So some of them may reflect the older records, and but I think this was different. Like everything was written by myself, and I thought that I was having a good time doing it. I wasn't struggling that much, and I think that affects the outcome as well, where you're enjoying yourself doing it, and it's a good experience, and that comes across on the record as well.
Okay. With these aspects, usually the last album, and in this case, States of Emergency, is the last or the best effort to the band to date. But a curious thing happened with this aspect that the fans thinks differently. The fans thinks that the first or second or third album, or perhaps other album, is the best work from your career. So you are into the band since 1990, since the 1985. So for you, which is the best album from Prong? And for you, which album defines completely the sound from Prong until today?
I mean, with as far as the pinnacle, the greatest Prong record has got to be Cleansing, because from a popularity standpoint, and a record that's important that's enabled the band to keep going, has been that record, because it was successful. And we have the hit song "Snap Your Finger, Snap Your Neck" on that. So I think because of that song, people still know Prong. uh, but as far as what that record's a little different than Beg to Differ, Prove You Wrong, and then Force Fed, the early ones. So the State of Emergency defines Prong because it has all that in midst it. Like, so 0 Days was sort of like that too, where now I have all the old records to reflect on, and now we're starting in this late age of the band, starting to define our own sound more, where we were experimenting a lot. Like, Cleansing is different than Rude Awakening. It was like people were confused. What is Prong? What is it? Now I think it's sort of forming and it's gelling, and you have the what it really is. Like, now people hear State of Emergency, go, oh, that's definitely Prong. But the greatest record is always going to be Cleansing. That's the big hit record, and we still play a lot of those songs. So there you have it.
Okay, now talking about little history, you are the only member in the band since in 1985 or 1986. So for you, how many things changed in the Bronx career and also in the music industry since your point of view?
Oh, the music business has changed so much. I mean, when we started, we didn't have digital technology. Uh, I mailed demo cassettes to people, and we had fanzines that were made by fans, stapled together pieces of paper. That was the whole scene, was fanzines, and that's what Metallica came out of, and uh, Megadeth, and a lot of the thread. Then there was the whole hardcore scene, which had tons of fanzines, and we used to press. We had a guy that pressed up our first record. Like, we went into business with this guy, and like our first EP we sold thousands of those records just in Manhattan on the Lower East Side in New York City. Like we would just kept printing them and making them and selling them from there was so many record stores, so we just kept supplying them there. And then people, the label in England saw that, and they were like, well, we want to pick it up, get licensed the record. So it was more like that product. Now it's back to vinyl. I mean, we started out when it was only vinyl. Cassettes were starting to happen, but as far as member changes, yeah, I mean, like some guys quit, some guys get picked up by other bands. There's scheduling conflicts all the time. Some people don't want to do it anymore. There's all that goes on with a band of this that's been around a while. I mean, some guys died. It's been crazy. So I'm happy to be alive and still doing it.
Mm. One thing that you said is about the demos, the demo era in the at the middle of the 90s, until the mid of 90s. But now, as you can see, the demo era disappears completely because now the labels didn't ask, well, hey, present your demo and we will see if your album will release by us, etc., etc. Now the labels are asking by the full albums, complete recording with the core, etc., etc. So what is your opinion about now the demo era disappeared completely on the world, and now the labels are more focused on the all material done?
Well, I think it has a lot to do with people having home studios and being able to make the records in their house or in their basement, or like the records can be done cheaply. Years ago, you needed a lot of money to make a record from a real recording studio. So before you spend all that money in a real recording studio with tape and everything, you would have to see what songs were good, and you go through this. Like a demo could be anything, could just be a small 4-track recording, and then yeah, I mean, unless you had money, you could go in and do a really expensive demo. But that's a really interesting question. I think there's a lot of this. I mean, I may be wrong, but I think there's too many bands now. Like there's too many, like you said, there's not the quality control that it used to be. Like when we got signed through Epic Records, I mean, my A&R guy said, I got hundreds and hundreds of demo tapes this week. And I go, do you listen to them? And he goes, I can't listen to them all. There's too many. Sometimes, I listen to them. We don't even sign anybody. Like Prong was the only band they signed, of our genre for a long time. Like we were the only band. So, nowadays, labels sign dozens of bands. Like I was looking at Napalm Records, who's they own Steamhammer and SPV, and they have this. I was looking at their roster, and there's a lot of bands I have no idea who they are. Like there's so many groups on there. Where years ago we like the Epic Records, a major label, the only crossover thrash hardcore bands they had were, I mean, if I'm not, it was Suicidal Tendencies, Prong, Creator, and I don't even Creator, and I don't even know who else. I mean, like maybe Motorhead. They didn't have that many, bands on the label. And even Roadrunner, they didn't have that much. They had, Life of Agony, Biohazard, Typo Negative, and they didn't have like the millions of bands that these labels have now.
No, yes. Now talking about now, especially for the term or the style or the label, groove metal, because as you can remember, in the 80s, this term didn't know correctly, because
No.
even Anthrax, Testament, and You Are the first 3 group metal band with White Zombie are the first. You are the first 4 band the groove metal styles show up completely because Pantera appears in the beginnings of 90s. Then
Yes.
the style calls groove metal. Even I know people that in this time on these years that they consider like Pantera is a group metal band or Prong is not a group metal band. So, what is your opinion about the evolution of the group metal style since you start this movement in the 80s when nobody knows about this style?
Yeah, I mean, I could tell you where it came from, and it definitely came from the Bad Brains and Prong and mixture of a Bad Brains and Killing Joke, and that's where those were the main bands that Prong were into, or I was into. So yeah, I mean, like a Killing Joke is sort of the group metal, the original of that, and then we mixed that with New York hardcore and thrash metal. So I think Prong has like the thrash metal guitar sounds with Bad Brains style breakdowns and time signatures, and it sort of comes from that. And I think it comes from a New York thing too, where you had this fusion of all these styles in there. Like you had the Beastie Boys and rap, rap music and hardcore and alternative music. So the club scene was so big. I mean, you had we have the dance metal scene. Like groove metal is sort of like Prong with you could play it at a dance club, like at a goth club or something too. Where people used to dance to rock music, which I don't even know that if that happens anymore. But there used to be a scene like that everywhere where you'd have a couple of nights at a club where it would be industrial music, etc. So we sort of mixed in with that a little bit with Ministry and Sisters of Mercy and stuff like that too.
Mm.
So it's a big combination of all that stuff and with the original groove metal is. So it's got to have a bounce to it, or you could move to it. And it's not necessarily mosh music neither. So that's why, like the modern hardcore bands are so concerned with the breakdown and these heavy breakdown parts where people just beat each other up. Like Prong was never like that. It was like we do, we wanted to move away from that whole thing. So we wanted to have like people grooving to it or just like enjoying. We didn't want these people beating each other up in the audience that much.
Okay, well, yeah, okay. So now talking about for the promotion of this new album. So what kind of plans do you have to promote this new album? Perhaps you will embark more tours. Perhaps you already preparing a new album. Who knows? Or perhaps you will prepare more videos, etc., etc. What plans do you have for Prong and this new album?
Well, we're going on tour in a couple of weeks in Europe with Life of Agony. That's in November, and then we have a record release party at a record store here in New York, and then we do a show in New Jersey on October 20th, and then next year we're trying to do a tour, and then yeah, that's it. I mean, I'm sure we'll do some festivals or something in the summer next year, but we have a new lyric video for State of Emergency coming out next week. So we've had 4 videos now for this new Prong album, and the new lyric video is pretty cool. I was just looking at it, so that'll be out. So I've been doing interviews. We have a live show we'll be posting that we did in Germany that came out really good. It would be almost it came out so good it's almost like a live album or a live video, but we'll be posting that. So keep an eye on that on our social media.
Yeah, okay. So, as I said in the first question, talking about other kind of aspects is not, well, not rock anymore, about author music or metal in general. So we're in years, there are no more bands that fill stadiums, and everything is personalized by tastes and colors. And now, thanks to the TikTok, there are trends that are silly, and implausible sometimes, are very annoying sometimes. Facebook's, in all the social media in general. So where do you think art enters in this generation that already consumes little or nothing physical material, and only takes the music as a accompaniment to go to the gym, to wash the car, or cooking, or yoga classes? Who knows?
So what are you asking? Is you think music is just background music
Yes,
now? Is that
background music now. No, it's not like the 80s and 90s when I remember when I hear it for the first time, the first album from Morbid Angel or from Tomb. I spin more than 100 times full album, or your second one more than 100 times. Now the generation is like the background in their common lives.
yeah, I mean, again, it's about digital technology where you were sort of forced to listen to a whole record because otherwise you'd have to pick up the needle and ruin your record and pull it off or whatever. You'd listen to the whole record, right? And you bought it, and that was what you bought a record to listen to the whole thing. Now with streaming, it's like, oh, I don't like that. Oh, I don't like that. It's like you quickly can run through a record, and I do the same thing. Like when I'm like, oh, it's easy to user friendly enough to move through an album in 5 minutes, and you didn't buy it anyhow, so it wasn't like you went to the store. The effort that you put in to buy a record, bring it home, go out of your house, bring it home, and then put it on your turntable, that whole process was completely different than what you have now. Like you said, people, in earbuds, listening to it at the gym, whatever, and playlists made by other people, and it's like I said, there's so many bands too. There's so much stuff. That's why the bands like Metallica are so big now, because it's all about nostalgia. And like bands like Prong are lucky enough that we came from that old era. Like it's like I was talking to these kids today, like you know like there's some popular bands now that are really big, and it's people like, and already they're saying like, oh, well, what are they going to be in 2 years? Like everyone's like, they're just popular now. No one's going to care about them in a couple of years, and it's that's kind of a weird attitude about stuff now. Like where you just assume that it's disposable and it's going to be thrown out. So yeah, it's a strange thing. The records are done more easily. Like I mean, I could say this for Prong. Like I don't. We go in and I play everything. Like all the songs. I play all the songs through on the guitar. I sing everything. We don't use auto tune, all like these things. Now guys have these metal bands are doing computer music, so they do the riff once perfectly, and then they cut and paste it, with the computer and everything, and then they quantize everything. All the drums are programmed, and everything's perfect, and then they sing the vocal once, and then they auto tune it, with they're computer records. So that's why these bands sound so perfect now. And then because they can't really play the songs, they go out and they play with the tracks. So they're playing along with the tracks, that they've recorded. So that's modern music now.
Yes. And with this aspect, with the modern music, as you can see now, well, I remember when in the 80s and 90s appeared bands with the experimental, avant-garde, progressive, technical, but it's a few. There are just 5 or 10 bands play that music at that era. I remember in the 90s appears Mr. Bungle, and Mr. Bungle are so weird at the time, so weird. But now, as you can see, we're in a world that create more technical, avant-garde, progressive, technical, a lot of mixtures. And even with this aspect, thanks to the digital platforms, the music function like personalized tastes. list. It's not like the 80s or 90s when you hear the song and play the song all the time just by the chorus, the strophas, etc., etc. It's very different now. So what's your opinion about now, or what's your opinion about this kind of aspect when the music is now more personalized and we don't have more anymore like huge bands with this aspect, because now the people prefer to hear just by personal tastes,
But you don't have any what bands? You have, what did you say? We don't have any.
like huge bands, a big bands to put songs in the radio that are very catchy for all people. It's not like
Oh
in
no, yeah. I mean, I don't. I come from songs like I don't. I don't hear anything like there's some big bands now. I mean, kids have a different mentality now about things. Like I don't understand it entirely. Like there's like I just was out on tour, and there's some big bands that are playing at festivals, and like it to me, it doesn't sound catchy. It doesn't sound memorable, but the audience were singing along with the stuff. So I just may be old, or I don't understand where it's coming from, but it's like there people were getting it, and like I don't. So I don't know. I think the kids today have a whole different sense of what is catchy, what is yeah. I don't. I can't really put have an opinion about it, because what I think, I come from a whole different era, like with, Kiss and Led Zeppelin and Creedence Clearwater Revival and, Grand Funk Railroad and these old bands. These kids today, like their reference point is completely different. It's like, and I don't get it really. So,
Well, Tommy, the sad times arrive at this interview. I hope you enjoyed this one like me. Well, love this new record. Congratulations on it. I hope someday when you will return to Latin America, perhaps you want to add something to your Latin American fans and Metallica followers.
please tell your people, promoters, to have us back, because we've had a great time. I hope we can come back to Latin America at some point, and if not, we loved it down there. And hit me up on Facebook or whatever, and try to listen to the new record on streaming or buy it.